as I alluded to in the last video, that all is not well with the hot tub. And this is not a new development. I realized that after I realized that this is the situation, that it existed before, and that's part of the reason also why I haven't used it in a while. So what happens, as you can see, the water level right now is right at the level of these return pipes that the water comes into when the filter is running. The water goes out through the skimmer, located here in the bottom of the rocks, and then when it returns through these pipes here. And there's 8 of them that it returns through, and the air also comes through these return pipes. So left open, after about a day or so, the water level will leak down to this level. So there is a leak in that piping system somewhere. And since there's 8 different pipes, I'm sure that they come together in some sort of manifold underground. But where the issue is, that be pretty difficult to figure out. I know there'd be a way to use a camera to see if something was leaking into the pipe, but leaking out, I don't know if that's possible to find. And all that piping is under the concrete here. You would have to break this up if you could find it to fix it. So that means the hot tub is in not so good a shape. So thinking how to resolve this and at least make it functional, I've devised a plan to at least have it usable. So for the pool and for the hot tub, all the controls are in the basement, and all the piping comes underground from out of the basement and goes to the pool and then goes to this area in the hot tub. Well, that whole central area is right behind this wall here. The filter for the pool, the filter for the hot tub, the filter for the blower for the hot tub, the heater for the pool and for the hot tub, they're all right behind the wall here. And then the piping goes under the ground, and through on the other side of this wall is a room in my basement, and it could be underneath that floor. I'm not sure how this runs, because there's a big hole, which I'll show, in the basement where everything goes under. So what's the plan? How can I make this usable and at least have somewhat functionality? I'm not going to bust the whole floor up. I'm just not going there. So my plan is to make some holes in the wall here and run pipe along the edge of the wall here, and then drop it into the hot tub, and that'll get the water to flow back in. I'll be able to run the filter. I'll be able to heat that water. I'll still be able to run the waterfall, because that pipe is all right, and that comes from inside. But it's just going to take making some holes here, which I'm going to start, and then redoing some piping. And I could run a separate air pipe possibly to get it to blow bubbles. So that, unfortunately, is the status of the hot tub. So I'm in the planning stage of this operation, and I'm looking, where am I going to come through the wall and walk outside? But this would be the approximate location that X where we're coming through the wall. Now here's a real point to notice, and it may have slipped some people's view, but let's look at this. See these conduits that go through the wall, and they pretty much go through right at floor level, and also that expanding foam, floor level. But as we'll see in a moment, and it had me too at first till I really thought about it, and I'm saying, wait a minute, something's up, so hold on. Okay, so here we are back outside. Remember the conduits we pointed to, where the pipes that went through the wall were right on the floor? Hey, wait a minute, these aren't right on the floor. These aren't on the floor here, they're on the floor here. So I guess there's block here, and they poured the floor into that, inside that block. And as we see, somebody in the past attempted to punch through this wall for some reason. I don't know, it wasn't me. At least I don't remember. I've been here 29 years, but I don't think I did that for nothing. And you can even see a bit of a crack here that shows that first panel. So our floor is actually up here. So that's where we got to come through. And that mark that I showed inside, approximately 28 inches, and that's including 8-inch for the block. And then we're going to be in this corner. I'm going to measure that again. That may not be right. Let's see. No, yeah, it's about 28, a little less, 26. If we go 8-inch for the block, yeah, we'll call it 26. We got to move that over a little bit because we're too far. So we're going to come out above the floor level here, and we're going to have to drop it down. I have to put more freaking bends in it. That's the way it's got to be. So, hey, we'll come back when something else has happened. And I want to give thanks to my old pal Gary from Sander Mechanical for letting me borrow his nice little Bosch setup that we're going to use to get through the wall. That's the biggest part of this project. You know, PVC plumbing you can pick at and do, you know, get through this wall. It's kind of a thing. So next time we come back, we may have some holes in the wall, but we'll see where we're at. And there we are. That's where we came through. So it's not bad positioning. I mean, I got to work the piping to the hole. I can't put the hole in a spot to make the piping easy, because the hole's got to be where it's got to be because of where we got to run outside. So next step, I'm going to try to do the big hole, see what we get. So we've drilled and we're through the wall with 2-inch pipe. That's just a short piece that I put there to see how it's going to go. Few issues that we're running into is that kind of hard on this side of the hole is a web, and it's a center web, as I could see this whole block on the inside, and you know, it's about the center of the block, like right through, just clipping the edge of this hole. So to run them side by side, these two pipes, they can't really come out, so I'm gonna have to over and under them, run one on top and one on the bottom, and then they're gonna have to kick down and run out. But we'll see how we're gonna do that. I gotta figure out there's a... Okay, well, we've cut the old stuff out, so now that gives me a more open area to figure out where I'm going with new piping. Oh. So we cut this all out of there. Actually, that was like that. Cut that out. Probably gonna have to retain the end of this, because that's what these fittings coming off the heater hook up to. You could probably get them, but they'll reuse. There's enough pipe there to cut that and get a splice on it and reuse that. But we're gonna see what we can do. Maybe get creative, see what different way I can run that. So that's where we are at this moment. When we come back, we could have some new piping. You know, there's our hole in the wall. That's just a piece of pipe shoved through there just to see what it's going to look like. So that's the next step. Well, here's the inside plumbing. Took a while, figure it out, and then you get about $170 worth of supplies and fittings and pipe. We have the inside done. Quite a few hours in this, you know, and I dry fit everything just to make sure it's all going to work. And I think it's going to work good. So just, you know, we're still here. We've got the existing valve to either route water through the heater here, or to not do the heater and just goes through straight to the bypass, which goes through here. If I'm going to run the waterfall, I can run it now with cold water. Before, the only way the waterfall was active was if you ran it through the heater, but now I have option of doing both. So up here to the waterfall and then down out to there. But I can turn it on and off with this valve, and then down, and we're out. And if we're not running the heater, this is the outgoing side of the heater, we can shut that valve. I had to retain this little piece of the old piping because on the end of it there's a fitting that goes, you know, with a gasket that goes from the metal to the plastic. So I had to retain a piece, but it worked out because I needed room to get the valve in there, come out through the valve, up and out. So if I'm running through the heater, then that valve will be open. This valve will be open. We can shut this valve, and then all the water go up through the heater and back out. And if this valve is shut, that water comes here and stops on this side. And then if we want to run the waterfall with the heater, we open the waterfall valve and it all comes out. So that's the inside configuration. That should get water flowing outside to the tub. Next is we have to get the outside part wrapped up, but this is where we're at for now. I think it came out all right. I haven't run water yet and tested it yet, so let's cross our fingers there's no leaks. PVC piping's, you know, pretty consistent. I make sure I put primer on every fitting, because at one time when I was doing some replumbing of my pool pump, I forgot to glue one fitting, and when I turned it on, that pump puts out a lot of water. So I just checked every fitting, and I note that I see primer, because I would not put primer unless I'm gluing. So that's like an indicator. And of course, at one point I spilled the glue. Then at another point you can see kind of a little purple haze on the floor there. I spilled the primer. But that's what makes these jobs fun, right? So here we are at the inside. Next step, the outside. Well, here we are outside. We have the outside part for the water mocked up. Still not glued here yet, so we can take this piece off. But this is how it's going to go. We're going to go with the flexible connector here, because when we put that deck structure back over top of this, and I'm sure I will, be able to disconnect it there and remove those pieces. And also right now on the bottom where we go into the water, I'm going to put this T on, but I'm not going to glue it. I'm not sure if I need to reduce the ends. That'll be playing on how the flow will work and how it'll go, whether we need, I'm not sure what we need to put on that, and see how it works. But before I glue this piece in, I'm gonna paint it all up to here with this same concrete paint I got, just to have it blend right up to the 90 there. And then the part that goes down in, I'm gonna paint it blue. I don't know if I'll paint it with the epoxy paint. I may just get some similar color blue spray paint or something, spray up that down piece. But then I'm going to get the air mostly run. I'm going to need more air pipe. That's going to be, I can use a lot of this used 1.5 inch, and I'm glad I ran the 1.5 inch for the air, because this just comes through. It's not hooked up on the inside, of course, and it gets cut tight and run along the top of this pipe. But so this distance could get set, it had to be set with that 1.5 inch coming through. See, it comes through on an angle. That's just the way the hole is, the way this web is in this block. So it'll straighten out once I go down and give it a turn. It'll ride right on top of the water pipe, and then go in right next to it. So that's just an update. My next view, it should be at least with the air mocked or fully assembled. I'm going to paint some pipes. So there you are. So this is what we got on the bottom of the water pipe. Reduced it down to these with these 2x1s. As I found when I had just this 2-inch T wide open at the bottom, while the flow of water was good, I turned on the waterfall and it wouldn't work. For whatever I did, it wouldn't work. And then when I put these in and restricted that flow somewhat, then it worked great. So the answer to that is that I need some back pressure, I guess, to push water up and out the waterfall. But so that's the water side. Then we'll see what we're going to do with the air side. But I found this blue paint that matches, just some spray paint, matches the blue color really well. So kind of blends in with the bottom there. So here's the air piping. You can see down below it's really not finished because that's kind of in an experimental phase. The air really blows pretty intensely, which I'll demonstrate. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. It's not really crucial. I think if I put maybe a valve on the pipe that leads to the air, I can blow some off and just have some gentle bubbling. But I have the heater running now, so we're going to see what kind of warmth we get after a little while. We've got the new filter. Didn't hook that up yet because the old one's now leaking pretty good. So that's going to be another sub project. But yeah, let's see what that air looks like. But it's really not something I don't think I'm going to use too often. And it doesn't really detract from the overall experience of enjoying the hot tub. So we're going to take a look. Alright, so I'm going to have my assistant turn the blower on for a few seconds. You'll see this intense, like it's a volcano underwater. Like, whoa! So the pipe kind of bounces around. That would need to be secured down. You know, we're blowing some water out. You know, so like I said, I'm thinking maybe a valve, blow off some of that air. We can have some gentle bubbling, but we'll see. It's not, like I said, not crucial. So The water, total success. The air, not so much, but there you are. So this is where we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to call it a success. We can, the hot tub is usable. We can warm it up. I've been running it for a little while now. It's probably about 85 degrees already. Nice and decorative. The painting came out nice. The water flows in and out. What I've found is that the top step going in is a little slippery. So once it's empty again, I'll maybe get some, put another coat of epoxy on that with some grit in it to give it a little more traction. And then the only other thing, coming through the wall, I just need to spray that up with some expanding foam. But we're going to say from disaster that we kind of pulled it out and made it useful. So if you thought of a different way to do it, or if you like how I came up with this, give me a comment below. And if you're not already a subscriber of mine, hey, think about subscribing. Give me a like, and then we'll see where we go from there. The next project on this will be replacing the filter, because the filter is leaking. But we'll leave on a happy note, and we'll say have a nice summer. Bye-bye.